Metric mania. So normally measuring in the metric system and converting in the metric system is a tricky subject, but this presentation should make it all make sense. In science class we used the ladder method to convert from one unit in the metric system to another unit. So for example, if you wanted to go from grams to kilograms, we would use this thing called a ladder. The ladder starts at the top. The top part of the ladder shows the biggest prefix that you can use with a base unit. Remember, our base units are grams, liters, and meters. The top of the ladder represents the kilo, and this could be the kilogram, the kilometer, or the kiloliter. A kilo is worth 1,000 base units. So if you say you have a kilogram, then you have 1,000 grams. The next step down, the prefix is hecto. This is worth 100 base units. So a hectoliter is 100 liters. The next step down is deca. Deca is worth 10 base units. Like a decade is 10 years. A decagram is 10 grams, or a decameter is 10 meters. Our base units, remember, are meters, liters, and grams. Once we get below a base unit, less than a base unit, we have the prefix deci. A deci is worth 1/10 of a base unit. The next step down is centi. Centi is worth 1/100th of a base unit. So a centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. Finally, the lowest step on our ladder is milli. Milli is worth 1/1000th of one base unit. When we convert, if you want to move to a smaller unit, you move your decimal point to the right, which is the same as multiplying. If you want to convert to a larger unit, you move your decimal point to the left, which is the same as dividing. So how do you use this ladder method? First, you determine your starting point. Then you count the jumps, or the number of steps, to get to your ending point. The starting point and the ending point both refer to either the base unit or the base unit plus one of these prefixes. Finally, you move the decimal the same number of steps or jumps and in that same direction. Here's an example. If we start with 4 kilometers, we want to find out how many meters that is equal to. 4 kilometers, the prefix starts up here at the top of the ladder. And we're going to end at meters, which is in the middle of the ladder, which is one of our base units. You keep the original number. So you keep 4. Then you decide how many steps or jumps does it take to get from kilometers to meters, or kilo to base. We start with 1, 2, 3. It takes 3 steps down to get to our ending point. If we keep the 4, since 4 is a whole number, we know that 4 will have a decimal point to the right. Any whole number that you are given to work with has a decimal point that might be invisible or just not written, all the way over on the right. Some numbers you're given to work with will already have a decimal point in them. If they do, then you just leave that decimal point where it already is. Then you do what I like to call whoops. You take the number of steps that you went from starting point to ending point, and you do that many whoops with your pencil. 1, 2, 3. In essence, what you're doing is moving that decimal point 1, 2, 3 spots, in this case to the right, because we went down the ladder. Now what do we do with these empty spaces? In those empty spaces, you would fill in zeros. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3 zeros to fill in. So 4 kilometers is equal to 4,000 meters. It's 2 ways of saying the exact same distance. In class, you're going to use this method to convert from things like 1,000 milligrams is how many grams, or 1 liter is how many milliliters. We're going to do some practice problems together, and then you're going to do the next set of problems on your own. Please remember, whenever you do your problems, to rewrite the number below, So you would rewrite the number 1000 below the problem. Show me, with your pencil, making those whoops, show me where the decimal point would go. I need to know the direction, so make sure your whoops have an arrow pointing at the end. And then finally, write your final answer on the line. Don't do your work in the original problem. It makes it a lot more difficult for me to see what you did.